DL Gaming Podcast. I'm Bobby.
I'm Amanda.
In a lineup, I definitely look like the guilty one. I'm just, I just like, I remember when OJ, they put him on the cover of every magazine in the world, and people compared like the exposure they did. Some publication had him super dark, like an evil villain, and other ones were like shine them as a light. Anyway, I have no light on me, so I'm very dark and I look very suspicious, especially with my what is this airplane jumping goggles that I wear.
Yeah, your goggles.
Yeah.
You have the dramatic lighting. You're like only lit on one side.
It's true. You know who wears these? Fucking, I'm not proud of it too. Steven Seagal, the fucking yellow version. God, he's such a douchebag. I went to the optometrist. I was like, "Give me the Seagal special, dude."
Oh,
that's
my
what
goodness.
I'll take.
Oh my God. Well, it's just going to be us three this week. Nick, first of all, we're recording this on Monday night. Actually, it is Monday night. Okay, yeah. I got a whole nother day to post this. Great, thank God. But yeah, we're recording this on Monday night instead of Sunday because we have spent all weekend in Los Angeles. Christian, in fact, is on his flight back to Canada from Los Angeles. So that's why he's not here. And Nick has D&D on Monday nights, and apparently that's more important than this.
It's his campaign finale, so I guess it's a big night or something.
Yeah, and then I was in Oregon all last weekend visiting my best friend and going hiking and falling and fucking up my leg. So it's been a good time.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Can you go to work and stuff?
Yeah. Like I guess I shouldn't have said fucked up my leg, like as if I broke it in a cast or something like that. No, I took a fucking tumble and like I did bang up my knee pretty bad and scraped it up pretty good. And then I rolled my ankle, but I'm good. Like it just hurts, but it's okay. It's going to heal. It's healing quick.
It's always the lower extremities with you.
Yeah, that's very true. I've got shit feet, guys. That's really what it is that I've got shit feet. Because with DLG Con, I cut my toe the one time. I hurt myself a lot. Yeah, I'm very klutzy. So there we are. There's that. And, but this isn't a let's, air out our weekend. This is a video game podcast. And so, you guys want to talk about some video games that we've been playing?
Let's do it. But first, let's talk about some games that are on our radar. So games that have come to our attention. And I think the big hit this week that everybody's talking about is a little game called BattleBit Remastered. They call it BattleBit Remastered, but I don't know why the remastered is in the title. I don't think this is a remake of an old version of a game. Maybe it is. I don't know. But this is a low poly multiplayer FPS, and everybody is saying it's made by 3 developers, so I think it qualifies as an indie game, but people are saying this is like the best Battlefield game you've ever played. It's like gone back to the roots, and it accomplishes everything that these AAA studios have lost sight of over the years. So people are really excited about it. There are over 75,000 people playing this game right now, which is incredible. I mean, that's a huge player base. This game just came out on June 15th. There's been a bunch of articles about it. You take one look at it and it looks very Minecraft, even worse graphics than Minecraft. So it's easy to be suspicious that this isn't a very good game, but the core gameplay apparently is just right on the money, and people are absolutely loving it. Up to 254 players on a server. For
$15. For $15, it's worth the risk, and the risk is also mitigated by the reviews and all the clout it's getting. 90% positive, 25,000 reviews. I mean, $15.
$15, no season pass, no pay to win, not a lot of junk in this, just a flat fee, and there you go, there's the game. So yeah, it's nice to see that once in a while.
That's pretty cool.
I may pick this up. I was a huge Battlefield fan. I loved Battlefield. Call of Duty, not so much. Battlefield was always my jam, but
Yeah,
we
me
talked
too.
about this recently too. Like after 4, I didn't really like the direction they were going, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it either. But I kind of lost interest in the series, and I still from time to time will go back and play 3 or 4, and a lot of people are still playing those ones. Even in BattleBit Remastered, they advertise on the Steam page. They say they have Levolution, which was the big selling point. I think in 4 was the Levolution one. Yeah,
It's a lot easier
I
to
mean,
do
this is-
when the building is literally 3 giant pixels.
Yeah.
You can just break it apart.
well, I mean, destructible environments are always a part of Battlefield. I mean, going back to the older ones, like there was always like a roof you could blow off or something, but it got a lot more realistic as the games went on. But yeah,
I will fight you on one thing, Bobby. This is way better graphics than Minecraft. Minecraft
Really?
mine has no curves. There's no curved surfaces.
Yeah, I guess, but they've done so much with Minecraft in mods and also on the what do they call it, the lighting with RTX.
Oh, yeah.
Like
If you install mods and texture packs, yeah, you can make
Yeah.
it look good for sure. But just vanilla, this looks better. Ooh, those
I don't
ground textures are rough.
I don't know. Yeah,
think
but
it
it's
looks
Yeah,
fun.
this is exciting.
yeah, and I like, I think this makes it a little easier as far as the visibility or the legibility of the game. When I played Battlefield, I used to always take this modification for the tank that would give you this almost like an infrared view, and it was so much easier to see players with that because the characters are kind of hard to discern from the environment sometimes, and you're just looking for like that pixel that just doesn't look right, So I don't know. I
called
kind of
camouflage.
appreciate. Yeah, exactly. It's camouflage. It's part of the game, but I do appreciate that this being so blocky and so simple is a little more legible than that.
Yeah, and it's early access, so it's only going to get better unless they make some huge mistakes, which we have seen. There has been popular games that were doing well in early access. They do some crazy shit and lose their player base. Hopefully these guys don't do that.
Yeah, or sometimes it just hits its peak, and then people lose interest, and they
That's
can't
true,
keep
too.
up with enough updates to keep people playing.
Yeah,
But-
true.
I feel like if Diablo wasn't out, this player count would probably be doubled right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Although big
What you
difference,
got, Jace?
$15 and $100.
Oh, that was BattleBit Remastered on Steam.
BattleBit Remastered. All
Days,
right.
did you play these demos, or these are demos that you want to play?
Oh, so yeah, I'll bring it. I'll bring it in. Next Fest happened. If you're listening to this when we release the episode, then you just missed it. If you're watching it live, it's still going on tonight. And so yeah, Next Fest is always a wonderful thing that they do on Steam, where they celebrate like upcoming games, where you have all these demos. We did have a thread going about all the different games that people are playing with Next Fest and how they felt about it. And so yeah, it had gone from June 19th to June 26th. And I played some games. The ones that I put on the radar, I played because I liked them a lot. There were a few that I played that were kind of like, whatever. But the two that kind of stood out to me that I'm going to talk about is the first one is Laika, Aged Through Blood. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. This one really stood out to me because of a few things. One, I love the art style. I think it's very cool. It's very gory. It's very detailed. It's very colorful. It's such a cool story as well so far, and an interesting mechanic. So you are a mother coyote, and you're like this warrior who is riding on a dirt bike, and you use the dirt bike to deflect bullets, and you also shoot people off of it. So the entire game is like a side scroller of you riding around and kind of doing different jumps. It's more complicated than I thought it was going to be, and I definitely wish I had a controller. I feel like a controller, this is that kind of game, or Steam Deck. This would be a Steam Deck game that would be first day bought for me if I had a Steam Deck, because it's really good, and the storyline is so far pretty solid and nice. It's Yeah, they call it a Western-inspired Motorvania set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
So
And
cool.
it's
Motorvania.
really fucking cool, and it was really fun to play. Like I said, it just started getting too complicated on the keyboard and mouse, and I was like, "Oh man," I kept like fucking up, and it's just
Do you
like
not have one, Days?
I have a controller, but it's kind of a hassle to set up.
Yeah.
To
What do you
be
have?
honest, which what it really is that this laptop is getting old and hardware is starting to die on it. Like I don't have Wi-Fi. I have to Ethernet in. So,
Yeah.
it's about that time. It's past 3 years old, and for a gaming laptop that you run VR on consistently, like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm running this bitch into the ground, that's for sure.
But
But
now that you're gonna settle down a little more, right?
yeah. Yeah, so I should be
Um,
able to invest in an actual battle station, which is what
like
I'm
a
excited
desktop.
for. Oh
Sick.
yeah. Yep, that's what I'm getting next.
Roughly,
Um,
do you think build your own or pre?
oh, I'd love to build my own. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm aiming to build my own for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, oh hell yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be fantastic. But anyway, going back to what was this? Age Through Blood. I will say I was really drawn in by this being called Laika and the creature looking like a dog. It looks to me more like a dog than even a coyote, but it is a coyote, is the main protagonist. However, it's really interesting. So Laika, it comes from there is a dog, or was a dog, that was the only dog astronaut, and it was like the Russians had sent up, I can't remember
Oh,
when, in like in the fucking 50s or something.
yeah.
They set up a dog up into space, and they knew it wasn't gonna survive, but is the first living creature to be launched into Earth orbit, which was on November 3rd, 1957. And so it's this almost kind of like it's a mutt dog that it is, but it almost has like some terrier, I think, in it or something. But yeah, Laika was a real dog that they sent up into space as the first living creature to be launched into orbit. And so I thought that that was a really fascinating thing. I guess I don't really know. There's a lot of like similarities, so maybe I'm just, fantasizing that there's a connection, but to me there's a connection. And so,
I bet there is. I bet there
you
is.
know, but I thought that that was such a cool game, and it, like I said, it's fun. I definitely recommend at least checking out the demo or the game. But I mean, it's not out yet, so that's also why it's on my radar, is because it is not going to be officially out yet. But it was on Next Fest.
Cool.
I can go into the other one of Next Fest that I really liked, which was Shadow Gambit: The Cursed Crew. And this game it's pirates, so we know that Bobby's a little at least intrigued.
A little bit.
That's right.
listening.
Yeah, he's curious, he's listening. It is a tactical RPG and more of a stealth one. And to me, this game kind of played a little bit more like Weird West, which I did enjoy. It's certainly fun, and it definitely gets chaotic once the alarms get raised by you, and it's pretty dope. It's got definitely like a very Davy Jones feel of you being more of like, the swashbucklers and pirates and kind of bad guys in a sense, since you're the cursed crew. But it's so far I thought it was a really fun game, and they had a really cool mechanic that was a fast keybind for saving where you're at, which was like if you held down F5, then you created this kind of like soul gem, which
Hmm.
then if you hit F8, you would break it and then reload instantly to where you were just last. So I thought that that was kind of like a fun mechanic for how quickly you could jump between quick save and load, which is super nice when you're doing a stealth and like a tactical kind of turn-based RPG that is so centered on stealth. But I thought it was visually really beautiful, and it looks and it played in a very fun way, but it did remind me a lot of Weird West.
Is that something you think you'll pick up or?
I think if it's Game Pass game, I'm for sure getting it. And to me, I'd have to see the price. Like, I wouldn't want to pay more than $20 for it, but that's partly just because with stealth specific tactical turn-based game or tactical RPGs, I'm like, kind of iffy on, because it quickly I start getting super stressed out, and like I don't like to play games that stress me the fuck out, because I come home to relax and play video games,
Yeah,
not
for sure.
flip out. Weirdly enough, though, like tactical RPGs are calming to me. But when you add the survival element to it, that's when I quickly like start getting stressed, because it's just like as soon as one dude sees you and raises the alarms and everybody's looking for you, and then I'm like, oh geez, and I'm running around and it's fucking freaking me out. And so like I don't particularly love that, so I wouldn't want to pay a bunch of money to feel stressed out. So to me, it's like if it's more than $20, probably not.
Gotcha.
So it's going to be released on August 17th, and that is Shadow Gambit: The Cursed Crew.
I'm gonna go ahead. We should do a little when Christian is here. We should, like, when we do this, we should guess what the price is gonna be, and then we'll tally it, and see who does the best at the end of the year.
DLG Price is Right.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me of Next Fest. I actually did get to play one game this week, and you reminded me. It was Wizard with a Gun, and that was on Next Fest. So I don't know, I think I probably played for about 2 hours, and this thing is dripping with style, and it's so cool. The whole intro cinematic is so cool. I just sat through the whole thing, enjoyed it, and then when the game starts, I mean the comparison to Don't Starve has to be there. I mean, it looks almost exactly the same as far as the view and the world is kind of like that, but it's improved in almost all ways. The graphics look better than Don't Starve. The action is better, and it is a crafting survival game, but there are a lot of additional factors. So you do have a home base that is outside of the dimension that you're like trying to rescue. So there's no bad guys at your home dimension. So you go back there, you work on things, you get it more powerful. Then you go back, and there's a time mechanic. So you're kind of going back in time before shit got destroyed, or during it, or when it was, and you're trying to fix things to try to like correct the timeline. I think I might be off on all of this, but it's something to do with time. And every time you go out of your dimension, you're going to the past, and then you could try to get some certain things done, but you only have so much time before you have to get back to the portal. And you're crafting spells that are attached to guns. So you get a gun, like your first gun is like a wooden gun. I think that's what it's called. You chop down a tree and you make a wooden gun, which doesn't sound very powerful, but you're a wizard.
Oh, Bobby loves that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How many trees does he have to chop down?
It all starts with chopping down a tree every game.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I wonder why wizards having guns? Like, Bibliochasm, it says, why do wizards even need guns?
You enchant the bullets, so you can enchant them with like frost, fire, lightning, different things, time, some sort of time thing, plasma,
cool.
Poison. And so, yeah, that's why your wooden bullets do anything at all, because they're enchanted, I guess. But that's as far as I got. Anyway, music's great, sounds are great, looks so cool. I am a fan, for sure. Way more than I was of Don't Starve. Don't Starve was more like stay alive, because everything wants to kill you. And this one you can fight back, and the fighting back is fun. So thanks for reminding me. That's Wizard with a Gun. We also talked about Laika, Aged Through Blood, and Shadow Gambit, The Cursed Crew. Besides that, this is one we talked about before, Mythforce. Bobby, I think just on nostalgia, this is kind of like a buy for us. So it's like an 80s cartoon. It looks like an 80s cartoon. We've talked about it before, but I think it's coming real soon. It's a first-person co-op adventure. I don't think it's a looter shooter. It doesn't say much. I saw a little bit of what. It's all melee based. You do have like your characters and that have their special abilities, but yeah, the whole thing just looks like an 80s cartoon. It looks awesome. It looks like He-Man or something. Of course, just a look like this isn't enough to carry the game. Like, you actually have to have a good game here, but they're starting off on the fucking right foot. I'll tell you that, man. It's It reminds me of like uh, Thundercats, uh, He-Man, Ninja Turtles.
What was the game that had this type of animation? They made two of them. There was a space one and a
Ace.
Ace was the space one.
The space one, yeah, and then Dragon's Lair.
Dragon's Lair, yeah. The games looked amazing, but they weren't very good. You had to input like
It's so dumb.
a certain up, down, left, right in order to avoid getting killed, and it was not obvious what you were supposed to do in these games. I think even in Stranger Things, there's like in one of the seasons, the kids are playing it. It
was obvious, Bobby, what you were supposed to do. It's lose your bank account is what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, I was supposed to drain kids of quarters. I remember trying to play that game. There was even one, the arcade that I had this really futuristic one that was like 3D. Not even 3D, but had holograms in it. It was like a Western one. I think I did enough searching and I found this game once, and now I've forgotten it again, but I have to find out what that was. But
I feel like I also saw Dragon's Lair in that hologram version as well.
And they have Dragon's Lair on Steam. I think I have it. But the game is just, as far as gameplay, it's just not that great. Yeah, they have the Dragon's Lair trilogy. Oh, wow.
Basically, it's crazy. Anyway, this is a full-fledged game that looks just as cool. So hopefully they pull it off. Let's see. The developer is Beamdog, and they've made the Baldur's Gates and Neverwinter's Nights, Axis and Allies. They've made some games before, but
yeah, wow.
They made Torment. That's like a very good. But these are all very slow, not fast-moving games. Hopefully they pull this off. A tall order.
Yep.
All right. What else have we got here? Echo Point, Nova. So this is kind of like, the description that I read was like Doom and Tony Hawk with something else. I don't know, but because you're on a hoverboard, and so for me, when I was watching the video, it reminded me of Tribes. There's a lot of verticality. There's just like, the world doesn't make any sense. There's just floating islands everywhere, and you're really flying through these things between you have a grappling hook, you have a rocket pack, and you have this hoverboard, and you're just fucking flying through this shit, man. And it's co-op. So you and a buddy can go through this crazy, crazy world and kill a bunch of mobs. The Doom part comes in the gameplay, the gunplay. It's not super involved. It's like point and shoot, thing dies. Guns didn't look super interesting. And the sound for some reason is like from Doom, just like, ooh, what? Just like, like 8-bit audio. I think they were trying to pay homage or whatever. It seems like it's all over the place, but it also seems like it might be fun. It has a demo.
Like so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm super down. Yeah, I'm downloading the demo right now.
Great.
Yeah, this looks awesome.
There is destructibility as well. I saw him pull out a hammer and just go through a wall to get away from a bad guy. So, yeah. Daze is so awesome. On board. Cool. Awesome. That's Echo Point Nova. What else do we got? Dudes. 33 Immortals. It's a game. Okay, you know what Monster Hunter did to like fighting bosses with your buddy? Now that's what this game is doing with like an MMO version of that. So 33 co-op players online fighting raid bosses all together. So, but without all the RPG and without all the outside world and the MMO part, it's just the action part. So you get as many friends as you can together. You jump in. You can go fight big-ass bosses. You can fight wave survival. You can do all kinds of fucking shit. Now, the downside of that is the characters don't look like they have a ton of variety. Like you have your archer, you have your swordsman, you have like a big axe or whatever. I don't know how you build your character or anything like that, or maybe you just select which one you like the most. But jumping right into a raid without all the other fluff, that doesn't that sound cool to anybody else but me? No? All right.
Cuts out the boring part. I can see the appeal of that.
Yeah, I think it's fucking cool. We'll see how it does. It's an Xbox exclusive, I think day one on Game Pass. So Game Pass, which means everybody's gonna have it, and it's 33 co-op. That's a
Oh, see, that would be cool.
yeah, fuck yeah.
Get a whole game night
yeah.
going with that.
That's 33 Immortals. All right, now we're jumping over to. I guess that's it. Cool.
Yeah. So let's jump over to highlights, games that we have played. I guess we should talk about what we were doing in LA. So that was Emilio, Christian, and I all went up to Los Angeles. Well, Christian actually went down. He flew in from Canada. And we went to the Game Awards 10-year concert. This is for the 10-year anniversary of the Game Awards, which it's hard to believe it's been that long. They were having a concert at the Hollywood Bowl, which is a huge venue. It was my first time ever going to this. I couldn't believe how big it was. We had
I've
pretty
never
good
been
seats.
to a venue like that, man.
It was an outdoor venue, and it was, I think they had designed it for people to show up early, eat dinner, because they had these pods where you sit and there's like a makeshift table that they eventually take away. But the concert was really good. They played a lot of music from very popular games that had won lots of awards at the Game Awards, from God of War, from Diablo, which, you know, is very recent.
And some games that haven't come out, which, you know, people weren't as into.
Starfield.
Yeah, and Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2, which I think out of all the music, I think the first they played two tracks from Spider-Man. I think one, I don't play those games, but the first one that they played I thought was really good. Probably the highlight of the whole thing, at least for me, and I think for most people, was Jack Black. Well, Tenacious D showed up in the middle, and they sang that song "Video Games," which is a new song that they've made. I think somebody posted it in Discord a while back. Really funny song if you haven't seen it. And of course, you know, they've just got a lot of stage presence. It was really funny. And then at the end, when it was all over, he came out in his King Koopa outfit, and somebody came out, started playing the piano, and he sang that Peaches song from Super Mario Bros. And, you know, of course, he's just like all over the stage, rolling around. He's jumping on the piano. It was a great show.
Life, man.
Yeah.
Like, to fucking command that many people. He's one dude that's like 5'8", and he's just like total control of the. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Because it's Jack Black, man.
Yeah, it's Jack Black. Beaches, 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 beaches. Everyone in walking out of that place was singing that song. Everyone. Yeah. It was awesome. Yeah, I think, you know, what's his name, Bobby, that puts all this together?
Jeff Keighley. So he hosted the event.
He knows how to get things done, and the way you get things done is with money, and the way you get money is do advertising. So that's why I think he had the Starfield in there, and he also had like games that hadn't come out, because, you know, you gotta. Yeah. Somebody's got to pay for all this.
Well, and
right?
I think what surprised me, and I don't know why it surprised me, but there were a lot of industry people here. So we were sitting down, and after a while, I started noticing. I started noticing people wearing shirts, like dev team shirts for Spider-Man, or there was like the game director from The Last of Us there, and they played a song there, and they had this guy who was on like a banjo or this little guitar that was really impressive. But yeah, there was
Gustavo, dude. Gustavo fucking tore down the house too, man.
Yeah, that was a big moment, I think.
I don't think he's ever played. It was my guess that he's never played with a full orchestra behind him before. He's like an older gentleman, and he looked like he was having more fun than the people in the audience. Like, he enjoyed it so much. It made it so enjoyable and real, you know?
Yeah.
I got caught up in the moment a little bit, man. I got emotional a couple times.
That's
It was
awesome.
very cool.
Yeah, it was a good performance. Yeah, they had a Hogwarts. They played a song from Hogwarts Legacy too. I think we sent that to you, Days. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we did a bunch of other stuff while we were in LA, and of course, Christian was down in San Diego. We took him to Tijuana and Rosarito, and yeah, it was a good time. So we did a little more outside of the concert, but the concert definitely was good. It was an experience. And, you know, we've talked about going to the Game Awards before. I still think that would be really fun to do. And I know that's in kind of a different venue, and I don't think it's very expensive to go, but it is.
Yeah, it made me want to go to that more, for sure.
Yeah. It is weird being around so many industry people, like a lot of these people who work at these companies, and they all know each other too. Like so many of them were coming over and saying hi to each other. We seem to be like in the middle of all of them. Like I swear we were in the middle of all of it. Somebody was out there in a Crash Bandicoot outfit too, and it was a good time, man. It was fun.
Yeah,
You guys
for
should
sure.
have been wearing your DLG shirt.
We
Get a
should have. Yeah.
DLG bump.
That was a missed opportunity, for
Yeah.
sure. If you want some DLG merch, you can go to dlgaming.net, and from there, you can find all kinds of stuff. Links to our Discord, pretty pictures of us. If you want to put faces to the voices, you can find our merch button, Patreon button, all kinds of buttons.
All our old episodes.
The hardest button to button, all they're all there. Anyway, yeah, it was awesome. I would go to another one in probably a couple of years, if they did it again. Maybe as it gets bigger, dude, if they would have played Skyrim, I would have just cried like a baby, you know. But yeah, it wasn't about like
It was
old.
a lot of contemporary stuff, like a
Yeah,
lot of
for
games
sure.
that had very recently come out or had not even come out.
Yeah. And LA, I had a great time in LA, man. Usually I say that I hate LA, but you know, we went to the La Brea Tar Pits, which I've never gone to, and like when somebody's in town, you know, you do the things that tourists do, and a lot of times you don't do those things, but there's a reason people do them. We went to 2 museums. There a lot of free shit in LA. Almost everything was free. You just go to museums for free. It's fucking awesome. The
You pay
food.
for it and the traffic to get there, dude.
Oh yeah.
Time
Yeah,
is money.
everything. It's like, how far is it? Oh, it's 10 miles, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. You know, but it is what it is. But you got anything else on this, Bob?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, I have my moving out correspondent coming in. Her name is Mila. She's been playing Moving Out on her Nintendo Switch, but it's also available on Steam. I looked it up because I'd never heard of it before, but it's like 90%. So other people are enjoying it as well. It's 75% off right now. You can actually pick it up for like $6. I think you bought it for how much? Like $6, right? Yep. All right. Do you want to tell the people about it? Oh, I said, where are your notes? And she says, they're in my head. So if she forgets her notes, we're going to keep her to it.
All right.
All right.
All right. Emilio moving out of the way here.
Try not to touch anything.
Hi,
Hi.
Hey, Mila.
how's it going?
Oh, good. How are you
doing
doing?
a great job of speaking right into the mic. Your dad has
Thank you.
trouble with that.
Moving Out is a really good game. It has its goods and its bad. Like if you can see in the other screen of Moving Out, it's like having a ghost there. You get to like slap it and everything. You also get to have like a very, very much amounts of levels. It's really amazing. You really get to start off with the easy ones. As you can see, you get to do 2 people to throw things, but you could also do it as a solo. You could also buy like other things outside the game, just like the employee of the month or like the vacation one. I got the vacation one and it's really good. It has like these element things like the water of element, the element of wind or something. It's really good. That's really good. But one thing that I do not support is about like how they make the characters so weird to move. Like if you're holding a chair and then like you're trying to move it back into the truck, it's like weird because you're like falling all around. You can't really control it as much as you can, but it's still a really good game of it.
Nice. And you played this on the Nintendo Switch?
Yes, I did.
So does your dad let you play on his computer anymore? Or is that off limits?
No, I only started on the Switch.
Okay, I think it's time for him to build you your own computer. That's what I think.
It's true. Yeah.
Maybe.
You know what? I second that. I agree with that. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you. I really hope he does.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mila. That was great.
It was good seeing you, Mila.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Cool. So that was a moving simulator. Kind of like it looks like what was it, the cooking game? Overcooked to me.
Yeah, but for
little bit.
moving into a moving van, I guess. Yeah, bunch of obstacles and stuff, and it sounds like it's what she means by jiggly body and things don't want to go your way. It's a fumble core. It sounds like a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
can
like
see
the
that.
irony of that too, you know, like let's make a moving simulator and make it really difficult to move.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Oh, I lied earlier. It's 84%, but that's still pretty good for a $6 game, especially
Yeah.
a co-op that works.
That would be a fun Switch game as well, you know?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
And Diablo 4.
Yeah, I'm still playing a lot of Diablo.
Yeah.
Aren't we all?
I know, yeah. And it's so wild to me because I feel like such a granny, both in how I have to move physically slow these days, and then also too how slow I'm moving in this game because I'm only in like Act 2. And now, yeah, I feel like Bobby's just sitting there being like, "Oh my God, like you're not even 10% in."
Yeah.
Well, the first 3 acts take a long time. The last 3 go very quickly. And I think you get the mount at the end of Act 3. So that
right.
really speeds things up. But the last couple acts go quick. There's 6 acts, and the last 3 are a lot quicker. The second one I want to say is the longest too. But
Okay.
yeah, I've been playing a ton of this too. I actually found a loophole where you can reset nightmare dungeons, and it's the most effective way to level up because I'm like 94 and a half, so I'm just
I
like
was just gonna ask what level are you, and of
Yeah.
course you've found like basically the game shark of the fucking game, dude. You're just like,
Well,
yeah,
until
I'm
they
gonna
patch
sit
it.
here. And, yeah.
Well, the
Like, you
problem is, I
broke
mean,
it.
that's existed before. A lot of the people in the Discord are posting to group up for Burrows or Champions Demise or whichever is the latest, like best one to run and farm XP. And I haven't done that up until this point just because it's so boring. It's just like nauseatingly boring. But I'm so close to the last couple levels that I really just want to get those and then focus on the gear. So I've just been putting on a bunch of podcasts and just trying to plow through it when I have the time. But
Sounds like fun, dude.
yeah.
It sounds like a blast. I have so much to look forward to.
That is kind of something I hope they address at some point. It's just like that to level up. They have talked about how they're going to fix this, but I don't know how soon. So the idea is that you get to the higher levels and you push further and further on the nightmare dungeon. So you try to run, like for instance, I can clear level 53, I think is the highest I've solo cleared. But it's not beneficial for me during the leveling up phase to just push the higher and higher nightmare dungeons. Your XP maxes out when the enemies are 3 levels above you. So it doesn't matter if they're 3 levels or if they're 30 levels above you, you get the same XP for killing them. So there's really no point in if you're just trying to level up in pushing super high nightmare dungeons, except if you want to get gear, but it's just not worth it. The levels are more important. So I think that's something they're going to adjust a little bit later so the end game's a little bit better. Hopefully they get to it by the time you get
You're
there.
100.
But
Yeah.
the campaign is good. They're really trying to force people through the campaign, and you know I can understand that. I guess I didn't play much of Path of Exile, but I think they're trying to make it a little bit more like that and not just the insta grind fest that Diablo 3 was. But they're trying to keep some of that too, because that's what a lot of people want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It seems like they took a lot of the good stuff from Diablo 2 being like the story and I would argue the druid and then some of that stuff, but then they added like a lot of the things too that were great about Diablo 3. I don't know. To me, this is the best Diablo. Would you agree with that?
I never played Diablo 1 or 2, which is crazy. I went over to a friend's house once and he was playing Diablo 2 and he was really into it. And then he showed me like all the cheats and the hacks and he was like, oh, I can level up super fast. And for me, it just kind of seemed like, oh, what's the point? But I never really played that one. I really enjoyed Diablo 3, but that was way later in its life. I played it when it first came out, beat it, and was like, okay, I'm done with this game. And then years and years later, I picked it back up and got into the whole min-maxing thing. But even though I haven't had a lot of experience with all the other games, like I'm definitely enjoying Diablo 4 more than the ones that I have played. So,
I'd say yes. I'd say it's the best one easily. I think.
Yeah.
I think so
Just
too.
for accessibility and how easy it is to group up with anybody, play
Yeah.
anytime.
I am kind of getting to the point where I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm getting a little bored of it, but I'm thinking Christian got the game. He got a copy of it. I'm thinking of starting a new character and playing with him.
Ooh,
You could
there
just
you
come
go.
down with us plebs, dude, and help us through our quests and level up, get XP that way. But that would be hanging out with other humans, so I don't want to.
No, I can't. I
I'm
play with
good.
people of the community. I've played with some of our members. I mean, we've got our DLG clan. I've totally been running some people through dungeons, helping them get XP.
Nice.
Yeah,
I love our clan.
I would like to try out a new class just to switch things up, but
How about a different build, dude? How about just like getting off
I am
Warple?
collecting gear to try out the hammer build, because the hammer build, you can do a ton of damage. I don't think the survivability is as great, and I think you do burst damage, and there's a lot of cooldown time, but I think, I don't know, I think late game, that's going to be the way to go, because the whirlwind just doesn't put out a bunch of damage. Super tanky, just not a lot of damage.
Days, how you liking your druid?
I'm enjoying the shit out of it. I think after level 20, it actually starts getting really good and fun. So I'm doing like a werebear pulverize. So it's just like a lot of AoE and damage. And some of what I've been stacking and with gear has also made me a little more tanky. And I'm playing with a necro. So like we're really a great team. And so, yeah, I've been just having a fucking blast. But I've kind of playing it a lot differently. I'm trying to focus a lot more on the story and kind of using it as like I don't know, me and the guy I'm seeing are playing it, so we're going through the story together and going at our slow pace and working together, trying to find like a good synergy. One thing that kind of sucks is like he's playing a necro and he'll try and make all the enemies vulnerable, which would be good for me to know, because then I can come in and pulverize after he sends out like a miasma and a blight, and it doesn't show on my screen that the enemies are vulnerable. So he has to let me know when he does that, so that way then I can come in and pulverize. So I don't know, there's like some little things and stuff. Plus too, I do feel like what's frustrating is like movement. So there's a lot of times where it's like I'll be clicking to fight some enemy and I'm just looking in the other direction. And it's like, dude. So I don't know if you guys have had that, but I'll have like cursor issues sometimes.
Well, I had to make, in a lot of these games, I have to make the mouse cursor as big as I possibly can. Also, if you hold shift, it'll hold your character in place so they won't move and you won't accidentally click move. Vulnerability is, so it's easy with the barbarian because I have an ability, I think through my Paragon board, where like the minute I touch them with any attack, they're vulnerable for 3 seconds. So it's pretty obvious when I do it. But vulnerability is the best thing that you can get in this game. It's the most effective or most important stat. Definitely for the barbarian, I assume for other classes. Because there's these things called damage buckets, and I'm getting like pretty specific here, but I'll just give a brief explanation because I know a lot of people are playing this. So like the damage buckets are, some damage is additive, which means they add up, and other damage is multiplicative, which means they multiply. So vulnerability and crit strike damage and are in different damage buckets. That means they multiply. And then all those other stats like 10% increased damage or 15% increased damage to your core skill or like 20% increased damage to close enemies, all that stuff is additive. They just add to each other. So really for me, what I've been trying to focus on my gear is it's got to have crit strike damage, vulnerability damage, and then ideally strength, and then a damage modifier like 10% damage or 10% core damage. So all those, and again, your base stats, those are in a different damage bucket. So if you have one of each of those, they all multiply by each other. Now you can switch it up with gear, like say you've got one piece of gear that has like something other than the other one. Like, I don't know, it just in general, for each piece of gear, it's best to have like those 4 things, like your whatever they call like your best stat. For a barbarian, it's strength, and then vulnerability, crit strike damage, and then whatever damage modifier, and then your stat. If you have all of that on one item, that's like the best. And you can always re-roll one of those stats, but you got to look for that when you're getting gear.
So overpower is just garbage, Bobby, or?
For a barbarian, it is. There's, I don't know. Maybe for a hammer build, it might be different. But for whirlwind, I have 0 value for overpower. So I don't know how that works for other classes. It might be different.
Gotcha.
I like it as with the druid, because I do a lot of overpower with my druid right now. I do a lot of overpower and fortify, so like it allows me to decrease the amount of damage that I'm going to take through all the fortification spells and buffs and stuff that I have, which is nice because that's the part that kind of makes me a little more tanky. And then the overpower is really nice for kind of has an effect of like, I guess like just kind of stacking up the damage. But like I said, when I'm playing with that guy and he's making all the enemies vulnerable, like that's overpower is nice to go on top of that. That's with us working together, but it is a good like pulverize angle for the druid is to have a lot more stats and overpower.
Mm-hmm. That is cool that you're almost like building 2 characters because you guys are looking for synergies between each other.
Yeah, we are literally like trying to get our characters to work together to see how that is. Yeah. Which is why we're playing it totally different than how like everybody else is, which has been kind of fun, but also kind of like, no, I don't want any spoilers. We're both starting to get to the point where we're getting a lot of shit because everybody's getting to like Bobby level, like, we're just over here being like, we're just started Act 2, woo!
There is PvP in this game too, which I haven't really messed with much, but I think that's cool that they're trying to incorporate that. That might be something that people start getting into late game, but I don't know. Depends.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right.
I think that's a show.
Yep.
Top of the show anyway.
We got listener questions. We've got 1 sub, so quick shout out to Biblioclasm. Thank you. 14 months. Thank you, dude. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Always nice to get those subs. And we got a pretty good amount of questions here. I'll take a look at them. There might be some we want to postpone until we have Nick and Christian back, but I think we can answer most of these. So let's kick it off with Scram TX. He says, we know Bobby doesn't talk about the podcast to his coworkers, but has Amanda brought up the podcast to her new gaming coworkers?
I have. Yeah. Well, no, some of them I have, like my manager knows and my supervisor knows, because I brought it up kind of just casually in there because I don't know, like I feel like that'd be weird to like go into work and be like, guys, I'm kind of a big deal, I'm on a podcast.
Yeah, you want it to naturally come up for sure.
Yeah, and I mean it has, because like people have talked about like what I did, like what I do on Sunday or something like that, you know what I mean? Or I think I was talking about you, Bobby, your character in Diablo 4, because there's my supervisor was also talking about Diablo 4 and doing a barbarian. And so that's when I was able to kind of bring it up, and he just kind of looked like, whoa, but nobody really, I feel like they don't care that much.
Yeah. I mean,
like the vibe I was going to say the vibe I'm getting from the Pacific Northwest is that like, until you get to like know somebody really well, like they're just whatever, you do your own thing, which I like.
Well,
I think that's a cool
people will act
thing.
Interested, but they're not going to listen to like an hour and a half long podcast. I've found like that's asking a lot. Most people don't. a lot of people don't even listen to podcasts. So if you tell them like, hey, listen to this hour and a half long audio clip of me, they're going to be like, yeah, okay, I don't know about that.
Yeah, right.
I just think it's different fields. I would absolutely argue the opposite for my field, to be honest, Bobby.
Really?
Like I listen to about 8 hours a day of podcasts.
Wow.
So I'm in the boat, which is why normally to me, like if anything, I'd be a part of the camp of listeners here that would almost be pushing for us to have longer podcasts and more content, because I myself don't want to be touching my phone every like hour and a half hour. I'm looking for like 2 or 3 hour long podcasts, and a lot of my coworkers do the same. So on one hand, but at the same time, I don't know, right now I kind of enjoy that like nobody listens to our podcast, because it would be weird being at work and then like somebody critiquing or making a comment about, I don't know, I've never had that happen where like I've been at work and like a coworker listens to the podcast. So like I don't know, that'd be interesting. But I do try to put little DLG bumps out there, like, hey, you wanna take this?
About, I don't know, 4 months ago, they found out that I have a podcast, and one of the girls started. She's kind of like HR. She started listening from episode 1, and I was like, "No, dude, there's."
Oh God.
Yeah, I was saying all
Yeah,
kinds of shit, dude. I was drunk. Well, I'm always still drunk all the time, but like I was saying crazy shit. I'm way tamer than I was then, and so I haven't talked to her about it in a while, because I don't want her to be like, no, I stopped listening, but I'm sure she stopped listening. Yeah, maybe around the time that I was so drunk I couldn't do the voices. I was trying to do voices of characters. It was terrible.
Oof. It was mega yikes. That's where Bobby started.
Yeah.
And really birthed the whole yikes. Yeah.
The origin of the yikes.
Origin
All
of
right.
yikes.
Next question from Zap. Do you still pre-order games?
Super rarely, but I did for Street Fighter 6. I knew it was going to be good just from what everybody was saying, and why not get the extra little bonus, whatever? If I know I was going to buy it. There was no way I wasn't going to buy it. So I think Bobby was in the same boat. I mean, before
Diablo 4. That's the first game I pre-ordered since I talked about this recently. I think, was it Battlefield 4? I might have pre-ordered Doom 2016. I think that was my last pre-order.
Yeah.
I pre-order quite a bit.
Oh, you know
Still
what?
kind.
I think I pre-ordered Conan. Not the
Exiles.
No, not Exiles. Like Unconquered. And that was a bad call, dude. I had such high hopes. That was the RTS game that turned into more of like a tower defense, and it was from some of the devs from the original. Oh God, why can't I think of that? The original RTS games, Command and Conquer. So I was like, oh, this is obviously going to be fantastic, and then it wasn't. It wasn't that great. I kind of liked it actually, but it didn't catch on. So yeah, that was a
Did you
mistake.
pre-order first AAA stuff or all kinds of stuff?
I pre-order a mix. Like Elder Scrolls Online always gets me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll pre-order almost everything on Elder Scrolls Online.
Is Necron? Is it called? Or
Necrom, yeah, I pre-ordered
out?
that. I still haven't had time to play it. Yeah, it came out literally the same day as Diablo 4, and I was like, well, fuck, because I pre-ordered Diablo 4, so you would think that like I would factor that in, but I totally forgot. I pre-ordered both and then was like, oh, well, Diablo 4 is my life now, so Necrom is still on my like perpetual on the radar because I want to play that. But I don't know. I don't have anything. Oh, no, never mind. I pre-ordered Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Got to. Yeah.
You got to. I mean, I'm going to buy it if you get anything. If they're like, you get a balloon, I'll be like, okay, done. Because I'm going to buy it. There's no, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
one
if I have it
of
pre-ordered.
our first I think our second episode ever was called Pre-Fund, like refund, but because we were talking about refunding pre-orders or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
They bait you into the pre-orders now by giving you early access to the game. So it's like, obviously I want to be a part of, the day one experience.
Yeah.
All right. Next question from General MJH. This is a long one. My nephew and I recently finished playing Wasteland 3, which was a great co-op RPG. We started playing Warhammer 40k Gladius Relics of War, which I think is a fantastic turn-based strategy game. One drawback is the game is fairly complex, which made introducing it to my nephew a little difficult. My questions are, how do you feel about tackling complex games? Have there ever been any complex games that you felt the time invested in learning them really paid off? Have there been any where despite a lot of time investment, you still clearly didn't understand how to play? For me, Hearts of Iron 4 was a game I spent a lot of time trying to learn. As a longtime wargamer, I thought I would really like it. Unfortunately, after putting a lot of hours watching YouTube videos and reading wikis, I never felt I had a good grasp on how to best play.
Crusader Kings 2. I watched an hour video on how to play it, and I mean, completely lost. Completely lost. I didn't know what to do, and I still to this day don't know what to do. I don't understand how to play those games. And as far as the inverse of that, something that was hard to play that eventually. Yeah, I mean, I think like Binding of Isaac is so hard at the beginning. It's so daunting that it really doesn't start to reward you until you get good. It can't be fun until you get good. And if you give up, you're not going to get good. And most people do give up. But, you know, if you keep at it, eventually you start to learn these little tricks that you're edging the things in your favor. You're never going to conquer that game, but you can start to, you know, weigh the dice in your favor a little bit more. But yeah, I would say that one.
Cool.
Okay.
For me, the hard one that I put a lot of time in but just could never really fully sink was Stellaris. Tried to learn Stellaris quite a bit, played it quite a bit, but like, I don't know, it's just I can't hack that one. But yeah, the flip side of that, I feel like a lot of different RPGs kind of fall into that category. I would also say Wasteland 3 was like, oh, I really appreciate that. The way that I tackle like a complex game like that, just with anything that's incredibly complex, is it's just a little bit of time, consistency, you know, or consistently, sorry. But it's consistency that's the key, I think, because when you chisel away at it, I think that's when it's kind of really rewarding and when you can really grasp that. I felt that way about Divinity Original Sin 2. That was another one that kind of was complex, but I played that every day. Or I would also argue that Escape from Tarkov is complex, and I additionally as well would spend like an hour or two at least every single day playing that with good people and getting good. And like, yeah, that's another way of approaching it. So to me, when you've got something, and that goes for even outside of video games, like when something is incredibly large to tackle and complex and difficult, chiseling away a little bit each day for a consistent amount of time really does wonders.
Well, the problem is if you stop playing, you forget how to play and you have to start all over again.
There are
Just
some of
never
those.
stop playing, Bobby.
Yeah.
Never stop playing.
You got some answer for this one, Bobby?
I don't really play a lot of overly complicated games. I do remember one game I tried to play, and this is what usually happens. I can tell it's going to be overly complicated, and I just stop playing. I lose interest. One in particular was by Larian Studios, in fact, and it was called Divinity Dragon Commander. It's not very well known, obviously. It's not nearly as popular as Original Sin, but it was kind of a real-time strategy game, but you also got to fly around on a dragon and like participate in the battle. But then there was this political game to it as well. You had to make a lot of decisions, and it affected a lot of things. There was a lot going on in the game, and I remember I just could not figure it out, and I don't think the game did a very good job of tutorializing me. And I just got frustrated and quit playing. It was unfortunate because I think it had pretty good reviews. It looked really good, and I just didn't understand it. It seemed very foreign to me. It almost seemed like, like a Japanese game or something. It was just so different in its approach that I don't know. I did not vibe with it. But yeah, I didn't never even touched Crusader Kings 2. I don't play a lot of like super complicated games. I don't find them very fun. A lot of times they just seem like a lot of work, and they can be fun. You know,
Especially now, with my time being so limited, I don't have an hour to learn a game. I really don't.
If you have the time to invest, then I think it can be fun, but it's you know, it's a lot of work and the payoffs at the end. So that's not really how I approach gaming anymore. Can't take it that seriously. He has another question. He says, if you became financially independent and did not have to work, how much of your new free time would you devote to PC gaming? Would it change the types of games you play? And again, this is from General MJH.
Great question, dude. Yeah, for sure. I would play a lot more. Probably not, you know, I still have kids and I still have outside responsibilities. But yeah, it would probably go from, you know, 1 hour a day to probably like 3 or 4, if I could. And yeah, and then that opens up more complex games like we just talked about. I could get into first-person shooters again, like competitive ones, because I don't have time to get good. And then maybe in this, you know, new dream world, I would have time to get good. Yeah, so I could get back into those just because they're so much fun. But yeah, right now I just completely write those off. What about you guys?
I don't know, man. I feel like I make the time. Even though I don't have much time, I still like make the time to play the games that I
Diablo
want.
4 comes out, and then all of a sudden you have 20 hours a week to fucking... It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if that's sustainable, like if I can keep doing that. But when a game comes out that I really want to play, I do make the time. I don't know if if I had more time on my hands and like I just wasn't really into a game. I don't connect with games very often. Like not like I do with like what's happening with Diablo 4. I don't know if having more time would change that either. Like it's maybe I'd like get really into WoW again, but I don't know. Like I tried time and time again to get back into WoW. I reinstalled it like maybe 2 weeks ago or something. Started up a new character because they had this like 20 free days or something. And then immediately I was bored, just like instantly. As soon as I got into the game, I'm just like, I know exactly what's ahead of me. I can't do it, man. I don't have any interest. So I don't know.
Amanda?
Yeah, it would be my new job. So like probably 8 hours a day I'd be gaming.
Yeah.
And you know, I did do that a little bit when I was in between assignments when I would travel. Some games I got lucky and was able to slide into that beautiful moment of like having no job but being able to afford staying at home, kind of waiting to get like a new travel assignment. Like during those periods, like Valheim, I put in a shitload of hours into Valheim because of from that. And trying to think, Tarkov, definitely I was able to put in a lot of time because of being able to have that. It'll be different now because now I'm not doing the travel stuff, so I'd have to make the time as well. So yeah, in this world, if I didn't have to work at all, I probably would spend a lot more time gaming and so many hours getting stoned and chopping down trees. That's exactly what I would be doing. It would be Bobby's nightmare and my fantasy.
Fuck yeah.
So I'd chop down all the trees and build like the most beautiful. I'd probably get super into Ark. So, but that's when it's bad. Crafting survival is exactly. I would love to have the time to tank into a crafting survival. That would be great.
Awesome.
Wow. All right. Biblioclasm asks, if a DLG fan gets pregnant, do we describe them as having a DLG bump?
Absolutely. Yes.
When
are
you getting pregnant, Emilio?
I already look pregnant. Bobby saw the way I eat this weekend.
Maybe if you just drink a lot of beer, there's a DLG bump there too.
That's true.
He had another question he put in chat earlier here. Favorite podcasts after DLG? I don't know if that was directed towards chat or us, but that's a question we get asked sometimes. Like, what podcast do we listen to?
I just picked up Critical Role again. I love them, but I don't like waiting a week for the new episode. So I let a shit ton stack up, probably like 30 weeks. And now I'm listening to all them, so I could just listen back to back, and they're 4 hours each, so I got plenty of content.
Nice.
But I've been bouncing back and forth between audiobooks, so I'll let all the podcasts stack up, and then, because I also, like Days, I listen to probably 4 to 6 hours of podcasts a day, and so you can knock this shit out pretty quick, depending on what's going on that day. Besides that, Joe Rogan, of course. What else? What can I do? Oh, how stuff works. I really like them. They've been they're a goddamn national treasure, man. They really are. Just whatever you are interested in or don't even know you're interested in, they will make it interesting. They're just two guys that are now complete masters at talking to each other and dumbing things down for us dummies.
Yeah, those are good ones. For me, I really like I love Small Town Murder. I came from a small town, so to me, it's very hilarious to listen to two stand-up comedians just like ream the small town police. Because what they do is they talk about like it's a true crime podcast, but it's done by two stand-up comedians, so it's honestly hilarious. They don't make fun of the murder or like the victim or the victim's family. They will make fun of the murderer, like the asshole that decided to kill somebody, and they will make fun of like bumbling idiots in the police force that shit on evidence. And so it's really entertaining, and it's usually like 2.5 hours. They very funny. They do whole like small town breakdowns, which are kind of interesting. They'll talk about like the festivals going on and like how much the housing costs out there to give you kind of like a whole scope of like kind of what you're dealing with in the country.
They set the stage.
Yeah, they set the stage, and they do a really good job. I think it's a really solid podcast and awesome.
What is that one again, Dave?
That is Small Town Murder
Okay.
with James Patrick Gallo and Jimmy Weissman.
I think Sam might like that.
Yeah, it's good. They're funny. They're very funny. And then usually on Fridays they do like a Murder Express is what they call it, which is just like a short train. It's like an hour long of just ones that didn't make a full episode, but they still want to cover a little bit. It's just wild, some of the shit that they'll talk about. Otherwise, I'm also a big fan of I like National Park After Dark, but that's because I really like national parks, and I like the two girls that talk about it's a whole wide range of things, but there's stories that happen in national parks or around them. They also go outside of the U.S. and cover national parks that are global, and it could be true crime, it could be a rescue mission, it could be people that work at the parks. It's a whole range of stuff, and so sometimes that's really fun and interesting, the stories and the things that they bring up, and so I like that one a lot as well. And then recently I've been really getting into How Did This Get Made? Because like I said, Tag Loro and we went across the country, and we were doing this thing where we would watch a really shitty movie, and then we would listen to How Did This Get Made afterwards, and that is very, very fun. I don't know if they made a How Did This Get Made for the Goonies, but that was the movie that I watched this past weekend, because I've never seen it. Never seen the Goonies. It's a classic, and now I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so it's like, yeah, I should have watched it. I don't know. Growing up, that wasn't like a big movie that I think a lot of people watched. I don't know. Maybe I just missed that. But
did you like it as an adult?
I thought it was, I thought it was funny. Like, I mean, it's a classic, but to me, it's kind of that it's very dated. I'll put it that way. It's corny as shit, and it's very dated. Yeah. And so, but that was perfect. That's exactly the kind of movie that I wanted. Like same with Escanaba in the Moonlight and Sleepaway Camp. Like all of that shit is super old, dated, and hilarious. Like that's the kind of movies I want to be watching, is the really dumb, funny ones. So it's perfect. But yeah, what about you, Bobby? What podcasts you listen to?
It's just mostly movie podcasts. It's funny, my list of podcasts have slowly pared down to just basically all movie podcasts now. And there's plenty more out there and really good ones too, but I find it all ends up kind of being the same. So, I've just got the few that I listen to. How Did This Get Made? I've been listening to that forever. That's a great one. If you're looking for the more serious side of that, so one of the hosts there, Paul Scheer, he does another one called Unspooled, and that's more of he does that with a movie critic, and they look at good movies and talk about them. And yeah, in Doug Loves Movies, I'm going to be going to a taping of that. He always comes down to San Diego during Comic-Con, so I'll be going to that live show, I think in July during Comic-Con. That should be a lot of fun. Yeah. And then, of course, Conan. Got to listen to Conan. Great podcast. It's so different these days because, like, every celebrity has got a podcast, every comedian, they're all professionally made. It's not like it used to be. Not great for us. Like, we're still, all the nobodies like us who are just doing like our own niche podcast. It's
Got to get Jack Black to feature us,
yeah.
That'll be quite the real DLG bump.
All right. Next question from Pyronical. He says, "Show us the fourth photo on your phone."
Sure. That's probably has something to do with this last weekend.
Yeah, probably. I don't take hardly any photos on my phone, so mine are all super boring.
Mine's tacos.
Food, of course.
Yep, mine's the food.
Okay, mine is something I've already showed on the podcast. It is a picture of when we went to DreamHack, and it is the Magic the Gathering areas. Not that exciting. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Mine is a video, and it is from the concert. Maybe you guys can hear it.
Oh my God, you guys like filmed that entire concert.
Sam did. She did. She was thinking of specific people. So during the Harry Potter, she filmed it specifically for Days. For the God of War, that was specifically for Nicholas. Yeah. Let's see if we can get a little bit out of you. Whoa. Yeah, it was dope.
That sounds like the Harry Potter one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a Harry Potter one.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Good question. I like that, Baronicle.
JX32 asks, "How do you think Mario won the popularity contest against Sonic? On one hand, you have a cool blue hedgehog who can run at supersonic speeds, and on the other hand, you have an Italian plumber who walks around his work clothes and occasionally likes to dress up like furry animals on the weekend. I enjoyed both franchises growing up, but I'm curious on your thoughts." Yeah, that sounds like the marketing for Sega back in the 90s. They were really leaning into that whole like Generation X, like cool, slick, super fast, edgy, like we're the cool ones. We got the fast hedgehog. That was totally their whole marketing angle back then. And I think honestly, Mario came first. People were just used to him. He's iconic.
Wow. No, I think.
But Sonic was very popular
you might be
too.
Right. You might be right, Bobby, but I think it was a better game. I think Mario was probably a better game.
Really?
Yeah, you can go really fast in Sonic the Hedgehog, but really you were just, a lot of it was on rails. You weren't really controlling your character. It looked cool when you hit those bumpers.
Dude, we didn't even know what that meant back then. On rails.
Yeah.
We didn't care.
But you're completely
I do
in
not
control.
agree. I think Sonic was better.
Yeah, you
I think so too. And
Yeah.
honestly,
It looked
like
cooler.
I don't know if I quite. I think in the long run, like, yeah, maybe Mario's more popular, but back then I remember my friends got a Sega and I had a Super Nintendo and I was just like, oh, they got the cool system. They got Sonic and like all the commercials was it when they were doing like the Sega? Like at the end they would say Sega real loud. Yeah. And then like Super Nintendo tried to counter with like the play it loud or something like that. Or maybe that was like, yeah, no, I think that was Super Nintendo, but everybody was trying to be edgier than the other back then. But I did feel like the general consensus was like Sonic was like this new cool thing that came out. Yeah.
Yeah, the Sega Genesis was the first whatever console and gaming thing that I got. And I remember I really wanted like Super Nintendo, and I had a friend that had Super Nintendo, and I'd go over to her house all the time, and her and I would play Mario and Duck Shooter. Like it was such a blast. But then I loved my Sega Genesis. I played the shit out of Sonic, and I played with all my friends, and yeah, Sonic was really big. And then finally when you were able to be Ninetales and Knuckles, oh my god, get out of here. There was so many different awesome ways to play, and especially with your friends. And oh yeah, I loved Sonic the Hedgehog. But you know what though, I feel like why Mario's more acceptable is because he's more relatable. I think there's a lot more plumbers out there that want to dress into furry outfits than there are people trying to be a hedgehog,
Yeah, could be.
And so he's just more relatable. That's what it is.
I will say, yeah, he's definitely. I mean, Sonic's way cooler. Bobby, I had a third contender. I did not have what? Eventually got a Super Nintendo, but I didn't have the Sega Genesis. I didn't have the Super Nintendo. What did I have, Bobby? Do you know?
What, like a Neo Geo or something?
There was one more. Do you know what it's called? I'll give you their version. He was
Jaguar?
No. It was Bonk. Bonk was their main character. It was a caveman with a huge head. It hit people with his head. That was their like Mario. Anyway, it was a TurboGrafx 16. I've never heard of it. Yeah, it was the first thing. It was the first 16-bit system. So it came out, I think, when the 8-bit ones were out, or like it was the first one to market. Me and my friends that had them, we loved it. I mean, our shit looked fucking dope. Like we were at 16 bits when everybody was at 8-bit. Like it was fucking awesome, and the games were good. Like I really loved my TurboGrafx 16, and the games were little credit cards. And so you just fucking. I mean, how fucking high tech is that compared to your cartridge bullshit?
All right. Warconius has a question here. Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 1, which includes 1, 2, and 3, is coming out on Steam in the fall.
Nobody cares. We're going here. Nobody cares.
Any interest in playing any of these classics? Apparently not.
No.
Rumors are that Volume 2 will be Metal Gear Solid 4, 5, and Peace Walker. Would you all be down with me assigning Metal Gear Solid 4 to play? The cutscene about how to perfectly fry an egg must be watched and experienced. So Metal Gear Solid 4, I remember that being the game changer. I never played any of these games, but I remember 4 being a big deal. That was the one where they would seamlessly cut from a cutscene into the game and back and forth. And that was also the one that I think first showed Solid Snake as like aged, and it was kind of like... I don't know if it actually was, but they were kind of marketing it as his like the Indiana Jones movie coming out. It's like his last adventure, So it felt like it was a closure or an ending to this series. And of course, they would go on to make many, many more. But I remember that game being a big deal. Still never played it, but I would be interested in it. Probably about 2 or 3 years ago, I really wanted to play the first one, and I was asking around on what's the best way to play it, and everyone said
Nintendo?
The first Metal Gear Solid, no, on PlayStation.
Oh, the first Solid. Sorry.
Yeah.
Metal Gear was Nintendo, right?
Yeah, I think so. But
Okay.
I'm talking about Metal Gear Solid.
Got it.
So, and everyone said like the best way to play it is honestly on an original PlayStation. You can do the emulator, but it's not gonna quite be the same. And I ended up going the emulator route, and I started it a little bit, but I didn't continue it. But I've always been curious. I've only played one Metal Gear Solid game in my entire life, and it was like the really short one that came out, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. But I've never really dipped into this series, and I got a feeling it's not for me because it's just a very console game. But I don't know. I'd give it a shot.
It's one of those things where you again, lightning in the bottle with that one. It's like perfect place, perfect time. I don't know any other game that ever used the hardware against you or used the hardware for the storyline. Like that shit was crazy, dude. Like, okay, Psycho Manus can read your thoughts, so he knew what you were gonna do before you did it, so you couldn't beat him. So you had to you have to turn your controller upside down. I think that's how you killed him. Or you go on the second controller and you kill him that way. And then he would talk shit. He would read your save files on your card and be like, oh, you've been playing fucking Sonic Warriors or whatever, dude. And you'd be like, oh, what the fuck? Like, it was crazy,
wild.
dude. Like, how can you possibly get that in an emulator? You can't. And plus, everybody knows that happens at this point. So, it's just really, really interesting. Nobody's ever done it. I had a dragon breeding game on PlayStation, and their big claim to fame was the save files that you had on your memory card. For those that are not 100 years old, you had these like little, they looked like Game Boy games, and that would be your memory card. What was great about that is you could take it to your buddy's house or give it to your buddy, and he can like copy it over and have your save file and stuff like that. But this dragon breeding game said unique dragon eggs based on your save files from other games. So it would generate like, so that's the only 2 times I've ever seen those things happen. And it was fucking super sweet both times.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, what's the equivalent today that like, I don't know, if some game made me turn my mouse around, it wouldn't be like, I'd be like, okay.
There's a few games that try to like act like they're reaching out beyond the game. Was it Pony Island? Yeah, Pony Island from the guy who designed or developed Inscription, and also Superhot does that as well.
Yeah.
And a little bit of Hotline Miami too.
I really got to play VR.
Breaking the fourth wall.
I think there's some other games. I'm trying to find which one it is. There's a game that I played that kind of does that crazy shit where it's like when you beat the game, it was like, it was such a scary, and it would not super scary, but it was a really cool puzzle game. And when you got to the end of it, there was a screen where you were looking at, and it was your desktop of whatever you have on there while you're in the game. And then when you closed out of the game, it had a hidden like photo file that it would like change your desktop to, which was really creepy.
Yeah, I bet.
So, I cannot find what that game was called though. Shit. It was.
But maybe this is the one, Bobby. This is how you play Metal Gear Solid 1 right here with this collection. This is also right up Nicholas's. This is all his shit. I think he has a Metal Gear tattoo.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
I would try it.
All right. Well, I think that's all our questions.
Nope.
I have
Days has a question for Bobby.
I have a question. It's
Oh,
a
boy.
secret question. Yeah. And so I got a DM from White But Still Hip, who wanted to ask me to ask you something in relation to last week's, in relation to last week's episode. And so he wants to ask, he says, Bobby, last week I asked a question that assumed you hate stories in video games. You said hate is a strong word, but I'm pretty sure it's the right word here, and I'm willing to put some money on that. So how about this? You name 4 video game stories that you like in the next 60 seconds, and I'll increase my Patreon donation by $10 a month.
Ooh.
And he's asking me because he wants me to call you out on your bullshit if it's wrong.
Wow. Okay. So I have to name 4 video game stories
Yes.
that I
you
liked.
Yeah, and
Oh,
you can't be
boy.
shit like
I would say-
Tetris.
Yeah, you're down to 50 seconds.
Okay. Well, I can think of some, but I don't know if you guys are going to like these answers.
Go for it.
Okay. Definitely Jedi Knight or Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight. Unfortunately, I really like the story from the first Command and Conquer with all the cheesy cutscenes. The first Walking Dead, the Telltale games.
That was really good.
And
Okay,
and these are kind of cheating, but oh fuck, what's the name of the other Telltale game where it's all
You're
the,
about to run out of time, dude.
Okay. I can't remember the name of that game. It's the other Telltale game with all the characters from
You're on
like
a
Alice in
timer?
Wonderland. I can't remember the name. I can't.
Think of another game.
Single player games. I should have said BioShock. BioShock Infinite I liked.
That is a good one.
We'll see if he gives it to you.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right. But what is that
Hopefully
game
like
though?
that.
Seriously, like it was the Telltale game, with all the characters from the fairy tales.
Oh, Wolf Among Us.
Wolf Among Us, yeah, that was my favorite of the Telltale games.
I never played that one.
I liked it
Bobby.
even better than season 2 of The Walking Dead.
Your first 2 answers were like games when you played when you were like, pretty young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
to
know
be
those
fair-
aren't good answers, but like, dude, that story, and it's so funny because when I think of Star Wars games now, I'm just like, God, they keep making up all these new characters that I don't care about, and it's stupid. But then, like, at the same time, I'm just like, oh man, Kyle Katarn, like that guy, like that's a great character there, you know? Like, it's just,
Bobby, it's you that's changed, not the stories. I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
I don't
sure
know if
the
I would
stories have
consider
gotten
Command
better.
and Conquer, but
Yeah.
oh, dude,
I
Command
don't
and
know.
Conquer. I mean, what was great about that game is you picked a side, GDI or Nod, and you got a different story on each side, but the stories kind of intersected. So if you played both sides, you got both parts of the whole story. So,
and you played both parts? You got the whole
I
story?
played the hell
Oh,
out of
shit.
that. The first Command and Conquer, oh, that was like my favorite game back in the day. Mechanical Man, come on, you guys know this. Do I need to play the
All
song?
right. All right, word. Well, maybe that should be your song, your outro song.
It was,
Oh,
was.
good. Oh, nice.
but he cut it off before the weird part started.
Savage, yeah. Oh,
You
that's
got to do
true.
that with the original Star Wars song too, because that gets really weird towards the end. It just starts going into like a jungle thing. All right, I think that is a show. What are we all playing next week? I ain't played shit this week. I did download some demos and I ain't get to them, so hopefully I'll be able to play them tomorrow or Wednesday. Next fest, I was not able to. The demos were like restricted after next fest.
I will I'll probably be playing I'd like to play a little bit of some more Next Fest games as well. Any demos that are lingering over, like the hoverboard shooter that you recommended.
Yeah.
That one I'm gonna try. I'm gonna probably realistically play a lot more Diablo 4. And then I also want to play Slayer's X Terminal Aftermath Vengeance of the Slayer. I know, hell of a fucking name. It's a boomer shooter that is like all about new metal because I am hoping to do a crossover episode with Burn Division on his new metal podcast about it.
Cool.
Nice.
Echo Point Nova. Days, that was
Echo
the one,
Point
right?
Nova,
Yeah.
that's the one.
I don't know if I'm going to pick up BattleBit Remastered. Maybe I'm kind of getting over Diablo. Maybe I don't know. I say that, but we'll see if that's the truth. So maybe BattleBit. If not, I'm going to be checking out the new season of Deep Rock Galactic. And you know what's crazy is I was put on the spot with that question, so I didn't have enough time to think of it. But I can't believe I didn't mention any of Sam Barlow's games, Her Story or Immortality.
All right, yeah.
because those
fair
are
point.
those are two of the best, in my opinion, the best use of storytelling in games. Like, really, one of the few instances where it actually works. Some of my answers, like Dark Forces 2, like I know those aren't great stories, but they're special to me because I played them when I was young. So I don't think those are great answers, but good answers would be Her Story or Immortality. Check those ones.
Immortality is amazing. Yeah, I highly recommend Immortality. That story game like kind of blew my mind the way that it worked, and oh man, I loved it. I'm sitting there scrubbing every goddamn like reel.
Yeah.
Was like I'm gonna figure out every inch of this story, and it was so good. It was awesome. Yeah, I highly recommend those two.
You should
Those are good
check out
ones.
Her Story sometimes. It's shorter than the other games. You'd breeze right through it, but
Yeah, isn't it like you're searching? Like I
Video
started
tapes.
it and I just didn't like it as
Oh,
much. Like
okay.
yeah, I
Yeah.
did try it, but oh,
it's
man,
like the first
Immortality though.
incarnation of that whole idea. Like Immortality is definitely, I think, the perfection of it. Like when you kind of figured out how to really do this well. But I don't know. It came out like almost 10 years ago now. I wonder if I went back and played it, if I'd have the same reaction as I did the first time. But when I first played it, I was just like, this is so clever.
And it is, yeah. Like, and I mean, it's super different the way that they go about it, which I always really love and appreciate story games that are like that, that kind of convey a story in a non-conventional way, which is, I think, definitely what Sam Barlow did with that.
Yeah. And Inscription, that's got a good story too. But anyway, that's an episode, folks. You want to sign us off?
Speaking for Bobby, Amanda, and myself, Immortal Titties.